Hey Deckers, Remnant 2 is here and it's verified on Steam Deck. Now, I say that very loosely because I don't actually agree with this one at all. Playable, yes. Verified, most definitely not. And I'll say why. Apart from dying over and over again because of stupidity, this game fails on two fronts in my book. Does not have completely legible text on the Steam Deck in all situations, and the default graphics configurations do not look good. Now, if I show you the default settings here, if you stand perfectly still, then everything will look just fine. But it defaults to 720p with FSR performance, but it's FSR 1, which looks absolutely hideous if you move at all on the Steam Deck. And in town here, it even dips under 30 frames per second quite regularly, as well as looking absolutely awful. So under 30 frames per second with graphics that make you want to vomit is not verified status in my book. However, if we put on XESS, oh yeah, by the way, VSync is also broken, as if you change the in-game limit to 30 frames per second, you'll see that it still says 60 up at the top because it's wrong. If I then change the Steam Deck limit that up and down to 60, suddenly the frames per second display very differently, but things are very janky. You either need to turn VSync off or cap the Steam Deck at 30, making sure that it either matches the 30 or 60 if you do keep that VSync on. Now, I will go for the full recommended settings here, but my settings I do feel match more my expectations of playing rather than the default, which looks absolutely awful. Same in actual dungeons, it does actually hold above 30 frames per second in most situations, very occasionally dips under that 30 mark, but the movement just is absolutely hideous and you lose so much graphics quality considering you are dodging so much in this game because otherwise you die very quickly. Having that motion blur with the FSR 1 performance mode is just absolutely awful. Not to mention that this pop-up really annoyed me. One, because I really thought that the press button to dismiss was actually the 3-line menu, so I kept opening the menu. It's not, it's B for those that are wondering. So not legible in my book because it's very easily misread. Now my recommended settings for this is actually to switch to the Intel XESS mode, and you'll also notice in the controller mappings that it doesn't actually tell you how to switch the alt modes, as there are two alt modes as well. Now I may have missed the training on the controller layout because I originally played through the first section on PC. If you are coming over to use things like your special controls, you actually need to hold down the left button and then press the right button for your ability. With the Steam Deck capped at 30 frames per second with the low settings Intel XESS performance mode, this does hold a very playable 30 frames per second, which doesn't look like absolute rubbish. So these are my recommended settings for now, but it does need some tweaks in the gameplay. Not to mention that if you are not into your Souls-like, then this game will frustrate you beyond belief, as there are so many different ways to die in this, even from things that you did not expect. So as you can see, I got poisoned from there. However, trying to cure myself, which I did fairly quickly, just got me swarmed because I've now got both the poison monsters as well as the bombing robots to contend with in quick succession. So I was really struggling as the medic here to actually have my rift, and this is definitely more of a co-op rather than a single player game in my book. So that is fortunately all working. If you do need to buddy up, which I do highly recommend, then give it a go. Let us know how you have got on with Remnant 2 on Steam Deck and whether you think it should be verified. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.